Um, Welcome to my predictions and tips video for UFC Fight Night 132, UFC Singapore. Um, Today is the 18th of June 2018. Yeah, please forgive me if you can hear the rain and whatnot. It's pissing down. There's been some thunder and shit, so it'll be nice and atmospheric at least. But if it's annoying, my sincere apologies. What else do we have going on? I am looking at, so I've figured out a name for the podcast, but I'm also going to brand it, make the videos a bit nicer, have an intro and whatnot. So, yeah, I'll do that all at the same time, so I won't start until all the branding's complete, and then, yeah, kind of launch that. It's still not going to be super pro or anything, not at this stage, but moving house hopefully in the next couple of weeks, and then I'll probably set up a nicer spot, get a camera, microphone, so all the audio and visuals are better. So looking forward to doing that and making this more legit. We got some good views and stuff, so I figure it's worth investing in, and I just enjoy doing it anyhow. Want to get into my picks for Fight Night 132. Excuse the light because the screen is blinking. I think my TV's on the way out, so maybe I should just turn that off actually. Yeah. Oh, now I look creepy though. I'm relying on these screens. I got 3 screens here to all light me up. So, yeah, very, very fucking amateur hour at this point. Anyhow, get into my picks for this weekend. I was real excited when I looked at the card and saw that the card begins at 8 p.m. New Zealand time on a Saturday night, and main card starts at midnight, which isn't ideal, but still better than what we usually get. But then I realized I had a party to attend that night, so I'm gonna have to attend the party, probably go home, sleep, and then wake up in the morning and avoid social media, not look at my betting accounts to see whether I'm rich or whether I'm poor. Really hoping to bank on this week's card, so I've got ample funds for the 2 cards in that follow this. So there's the tough finale, and then the UFC 226. Yeah, 226. I should know, that's a massive card. Anyhow, we'll get into these picks. First fight I looked at or made a bet on this week was the Rolando D versus Shane Young fight. I was real keen to look at Shane Young. Obviously, he's a New Zealander. And then saw the odds come out, saw him come out as a betting favourite, and had a good look at his career thus far. He's obviously only had the 1 fight in the UFC, but we'll get into that. I looked at D first, and just looking at my notes here, he's got poor takedown defense. He can get taken down pretty easily. He stays really planted and throws everything with power. Definitely, I didn't look into it, but it looks like quite a Muay Thai style he fights with. So he's very planted, and he yeah, swings for the fences. Could leave him susceptible to leg kicks. We'll see. He's quite stationary, doesn't use a lot of movement. Once again, looks like a Muay Thai style. He's solid for the weight class, so he's quite solidly built, and he's got a nice lead hook. Missed weight in his last fight, so something to look for there. I really hope he makes weight, because you know that's always a concern with what's been happening this year. And also noted that he mostly throws one-off shots, so he doesn't throw in combinations a lot. So that could be to his detriment in this fight if Shane Young is indeed the fighter I think he is. Young's UFC debut, he took on Volkanovski and took him to a decision. and Volkanovski has been running through opponents in the UFC. I think he's on like a 5-fight winning streak in the UFC, and he's been finishing most of his fights. So Shane Young came in on 8 days' notice and went the distance with Volkanovski. It was a pretty one-sided fight, but you know, to taking everything into account, I think that's a reasonable performance against a guy that looks like a legit contender. What did I say? Yeah, and so Volkanovski's overall record is 17-1, and he's unbeaten in the UFC. So not bad there. I'm interested to see. Shane Young looks pretty slight for the division. He's tallish, and I got the suspicion about the City Kickboxing team. He's obviously from City Kickboxing, same team as Israel Adesanya and Dan Hooker, and those guys. Obviously, Dan Hooker went up a division recently. Adesanya, you've seen him weigh in like well under the weight limit for welterweight. Middleweight. And I suspect those guys are not into the heavyweight cuts. And so I'm interested to see if that's the same for Shane Young, but I think it could be. Yeah, but we'll see there. Young is very young, but he's quite experienced. He's been fighting a long time and he's had a lot of fights. Not against the stiffest of competition, but I went back and watched some fights and he looks good. I don't know, I saw a bit of fire in him too in a couple of fights, a couple of stare-offs and whatnot, because he appears to be the consummate nice guy, but then there's a couple of fights where he looked like he got a bit fiery, so that was cool to see. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I'm not sure how long he's been at City Kickboxing. But regardless, I feel that team just has momentum at the moment. If you look at what Hooker and Adesanya are doing, the bunch of other guys in that team who are doing great things, I feel like as a team they have momentum. They kind of announce themselves upon the global MMA scene and are doing amazing things. So I feel like that momentum and confidence has got to rub off on the young fighter. He's seen his teammates come out and get great wins, and I think that's got to rub off somewhat on him. So he should come into this with a lot of confidence, especially considering his last fight against super tough competition and didn't get finished against Volkanovski. So I think coming in against a guy like D, he will be super confident here. Much like the other City Kickboxing guys, he's a precision striker and he throws in combinations, which I think will really work to his advantage against D, who just kind of pop shots and throws one-off shots. He's got a nice lead hook and he mixes it up well with the jab. Often his opponents don't read what is coming there, so he'll lead with the jab and then lead with the jab, then lead with the hook, and he mixes it up nicely in it, and you see him land it due to that. He likes to pressure forward. He slips punches well and counters well. So again, another great attribute to have against a fighter like D. He also looks to have a good submission game. So I think this fight will stay standing. I think D obviously wants to strike. I think Shane Young should have the advantage there, and I imagine it will stay standing and Shane Young will win on the feet. I've put, where am I? I think I put 4 units on Shane Young, and he is paying, I got him at $1.62, so pretty happy with that. Inexperienced guy, second UFC fight. I don't know if I would usually place money on a guy in that position, but I do have supreme confidence in his team, so I think he will come in with good game plan, execute it, and get the win. Next fight I place money on, where are we? It's quite a hard card to decipher. A lot of fighters I wasn't super familiar with, so um, yeah, we'll see how we go. Uh, oh yeah, and heaps of the names are difficult to pronounce too, so please forgive my pronunciation of some of these names. Um, Terrible. Next fight I bet on is Yan Xiaonan. Xiaonan? I think that's how it's pronounced. We'll go off that anyway. Uh, Watch a bit of tape on her. She's really aggressive. Like, she tries to take her opponent's head off. And beginning to watch her, I was like, well, fuck, this is ridiculous. But she does still appear to be able to throw with power in the later rounds. So she maintains that, which was an initial concern. But yeah, I think she can keep going and keep throwing with power. It just didn't really. I saw a fight where there was a lot of clinching, and she can get held up against the cage, but she still seemed to have a decent gas tank. So I'm confident in that. She headhunts a lot, but she's reasonably accurate, so she does land a lot of shots. Not super technical, more aggressive than technical. She's happy to get in the pocket and an exchange, and I think in this fight she'll have the power advantage, so that should work to her favor. She's nice and strong, like she's built solidly, and in those clinch positions, I saw her in. Although often she was the one with her back against the cage, it wasn't a situation where I was super concerned about her getting taken down, or I think she's able to remain standing and break free. So I think she can do that, especially with the size difference in this fight. She's got a lot of KOs on her record, particularly for a woman in this division. Her lead leg head kick lands often, so she throws a kind of crazy. It's kind of like a hook kick, maybe. I could be wrong, but she throws this leg head kick that's seems to catch her opponents often. She's got a nice check hook. She throws that often. Put there, she can get pinned on the cage. This fight, she really needs to work on keeping her distance, so I hope she's done some work on that. She's fighting a much shorter fighter with way shorter reach, so if she can stay on the outside, she covers distance quite quickly with her powerful strikes. Yeah, that's what she needs to do here, I believe. She throws hard for 3 rounds, big height advantage, and I noticed in fights Pereira is quite planted, and Xiaonan does have a heavy leg kick, so I imagine she'll be able to land that too. Viviane Pereira, she's coming in on late notice, which can advantage either fighter or disadvantage either fighter. You never really know with that. Pereira is pretty aggressive as well. I did watch a fight. I think it was with what's her name, the Canadian woman. Anyhow, Canadian woman had a big height advantage, and Pereira really struggled with that. She's only 5 foot, I think, and I think Xiaonan is like 5'6" or something. So it's big, like, and she really struggled with that in that fight. She couldn't get inside. Yeah, she's quite aggressive anyhow, and looks reasonably powerful. Oh yeah, it was Valerie Letourneau, that fight. Yeah, and she leans over her shots quite a lot, so I see her struggling with the distance, leaning over shots she wings, and then getting clipped by Xiaonan. Yeah, I think the size difference will play a big factor here, and I think Yan can keep the fight standing, or I hope she can keep it standing, because I'll bet on her, and she'll land her shots from the outside. Big underdog play here. I got Xiaonan at $2.70, so I placed 2 units on that. Hopefully that pays. But yeah, not a big bet there. My next play for this card. Oh, this one that I'm getting more and more freaked out about as time goes by. So I got what's his name, Song Yadong, fighting Aranches. Song Yadong, I'm real confusing about his age. So he made his debut and blasted that Indian fighter, I forget his name, blasted him in the first round, and yeah, hard to draw too much from that because you don't really know the level of competition there, or I don't at least. But yeah, at his debut, they announced him as being 20 years old, I think, and then in researching him, I found a fight on YouTube from 2013 where he was listed as being 19. So I don't know how fucking old he is, but he has been fighting a long time. So I suspect he's older than 20, but doesn't matter. He's a young fighter, but with a decent amount of experience. Once again, probably not against the toughest of competition, but reasonable competition, I'm sure, and he has a great record. He looked so he came in on 1 week's notice for that debut as well, and he looked real comfortable and composed, which filled me with a lot of confidence. He has real nice footwork and distance control. He has real varied attacks, so he will throw lots of different varied attacks, and it's hard for his opponent to know what is coming. He's really fast, and he throws fast spinning attacks. Throws with a lot of power. He's got nice head movement, and he slips shots in. So you see a lot of guys who will lean back and slip shots. He slips inwards and then lands his own counters, which I really liked as well. Yeah, if the age thing is to be believed, well, he's been fighting as a pro since a teenager, it would seem. Not too sure what to make of the age thing, but so I think whilst being young and inexperienced at this level, I think this guy's come up doing this. So I think that attributes to how composed you saw him in his debut, because I think fighting is just second nature for this guy. Aranches, really experienced. Once again, a guy who's been fighting since his teens, I believe. He has a win over John Lineker from what was it? I don't know, it was 9 years ago or something. So when he was super young, 21 or something. And so he's been fighting that sort of level competition. Obviously that wasn't the John Lineker we know today. Fuck, this rain's getting real loud, sorry. It's not the John Lineker of today, but he has been fighting tough competition for a really long time. A while ago he moved down to 135, and he's been back up at 145, I think, for one fight. So went down, I think had some losses. It's now coming back to 45. He'd had some losses at 45 too, so there's cause for concern there, I think, if you fancy Aranches. Guy getting on in his career, fucking around with changing weight divisions, could indicate that, he's not really found his place and is not super happy with where he's at. He can get pretty reckless in the pocket and wing shots, and doesn't seem to have heaps of power in his hands, so I think the power advantage will go to Yadong here. Good ground game. I think he's BJJ black belt, so that's something to watch out for. He's got a variety of submission wins on his record. He's super offensive on the ground, so he'll throw up subs all over the show and will give up position going for subs quite often. In his fight against Perez, he injured Perez's leg, and then you could see Perez was in heaps of trouble, and Aranches wasn't able to put him away. He got taken down by a guy essentially on one leg, and then ended up losing that fight that he really should have won. I hope you can hear me over this rain. It's terrible. He hasn't won a fight in 2 years. And in his last fight against Emmett, I don't know if people should remember that. That was quite recent. I think he got dropped like 3 times in the first round. Commentators were speculating whether he was flopping, but I think he was being genuinely dropped with big shots by Emmett. Yeah, so something to watch for there. Yadong does have power. We'll see how powerful he is against Sanchez, but so yeah, he had a real tough fight in his last out, and I mean, like, obviously Emmett's high level competition, so unsure what to make of that, but a bit of a concern for Sanchez. He hasn't won a fight at this weight division since 2013. Yeah, he's a pretty creative striker, throws a lot of different attacks, but he's not very powerful from what I can gather. Yeah, and something I just saw in his fights was a lot of complacency, and so he will, if he's losing on the feet, he won't like push to get the fight to the ground. He doesn't seem to like be very offensive with takedowns. He'd rather flop to his back. And in that position, I've seen him get held down and beat on. So I put the line shifted on this fight. So I got Yadong at $1.70, and now I think he's paying over $2, which is a bummer. But I included him in a parlay as well. So I chucked 4 units on Yadong to win that fight. See how we go. It's a bit of a hairy one. It's real. There's a massive experience discrepancy there, so we'll see what happens. The next fight I've got is, fuck, I hope you can hear me over this shit. It should go away in a second. Okay, so Naoki Inoue versus Matt Schnell. Both pretty tall guys. Inoue a little bit taller. Inoue's real slick on the ground. Really like his ground game. He's relentless on the ground. He passes and attacks submissions. Looks like a fast and economical striker. Got nice kicks to the leg and to the body. Yeah, if he's winning the striking, he will wait for the opponent to shoot and then get the fight on the ground and dominate there. Quite confident, I think, to pass or get off his back. Matt Schnell, another fight I think where Schnell's had the high level experience, but in his 3 UFC fights, his first 2 he was knocked out, so I don't know. And then in his last fight he won, so you could, I guess, be happy that his confidence is back and feeling good. But I think one of those fights too, he got knocked out with a hammer fist on the ground that was a real cause for concern about his chin. I don't know, it just didn't look like a super hard shot, and I know like different shots can catch you and it can just hit the bottom, but yeah, questionable chin. He's fast and he moves well, but he has his head quite high up in the air and he looks very hittable. And his striking percentage was fucking garbage. I think it sits around 30%. So yeah, he throws and misses a lot. So I'm pretty confident that Inoue can win the striking, and then if the fight goes to the ground, I'm pretty sure he can sub him or at least dominate on the ground. So I put 4 units on Inoue at just $1.50 to win there. I got that's all my straight picks for this card. I got a little parlay on Song Yadong and Leon Edwards. And I'm going to look at some more parlays during the week. We'll see how we go with that. Probably listen to some other people's videos. There's not many out yet. I've just seen one, so not much opinions to look at yet. I looked at before I looked at any of the other fights, I looked at the co-main and main event, and didn't really want to bet on either. Just so I do, and Tyson Pedro over in St. Preux, I do favor Pedro to win, but I don't really want to bet against a guy like OSP fighting a guy where Tyson Pedro is at this stage. Like, OSP can just do freakish shit, and whilst I'm pretty confident Pedro will win, I just don't like the chances of OSP like head kicking him or getting him in a Von Flue choke or something fucking crazy like that. So I chose not to bet it. Real excited to watch it. I think Pedro looked better each time. He still looks to be improving. He's got a real good all-round game, and I think he will win, but I'm not putting any money on that. Similar deal with Edwards versus Cerrone. I began to look at it because without thinking too much about it, I was like, oh yeah, Leon Edwards wins this fight. And then I started watching his last fight, and it was a pretty poor performance by him. And I didn't really go any further because, you know, I could go back to other fights where he looked better, but his most recent performance didn't fill me with confidence. So there's no way I was going to bet him, and there's no way I'm going to bet Cerrone at this stage of his career. But once again, I do favor Edwards to win. I think he's got much quicker hands, but just in his last fight, took him a long time to get his timing, and he wasn't very offensive. He was sitting back trying to counter, and yeah, not too sure how. I'm sure he'll have a different approach in this fight, but yeah, I just didn't want to put any money there. So looking forward to both those fights, but no money on them. My fight to watch for this card, it's kind of hard to pick one. I was thinking about Pedro versus over St. Preux fight, but that also has the potential to be quite boring. Well, you never know. See what happens though. But so I went for the Li Jingliang versus Daichi Abe. Is it Abe? I'm not sure, because I think that could be fireworks, that fight. So that's my fight to watch for no other reason than it could be really exciting. My fighter to watch, my inherent bias comes into play here. My fighter to watch is Shane Young. And for obvious reasons, New Zealand fighter from a great camp, a team that is really doing a lot at the moment. So I'm excited to see how he goes. I think he's going to get a win, and we'll see him progress from here. So really excited for Shane Young's, what is essentially really his debut. I'm counting it as his debut. The last one, he was put in a fucking rough spot, man. In regards to his debut as well, I think Volkanovski, I see him a lot in the City Kickboxing social media. I don't know if he trains with them full time, but it appears he does definitely train with them often, so something of interest there as well. What is I've placed 2 bets on Daniel Cormier. I got him at first at $3, and I put 4 units on, and he's since moved up on Bet365 to $3.40. So I put another 2 units on. I saw someone place a bet on him today, paying $4, and it's just insane. Like, there's Daniel Cormier paying $4 is fucking nuts, and I still think he's gonna win. I haven't done a lot of tape. I went back last night and watched the Josh Barnett fight, and what you see there is a Daniel Cormier with the same style but way less evolved. and obviously as a heavyweight, he looks a bit slower there, and he didn't press as much as he does these days. But I think we'll see him against Stipe press and press and press. Um, but yeah, I watched that, and fuck, Cormier at heavyweight. People seem to have forgotten that he's a fucking beast at heavyweight. Like, he was picking Josh Barnett up and dominating the wrestling and the striking, head kicking Barnett like multiple times. Yeah, I'm so excited for that fight, and I really think DC's gonna win. People are gonna realize that Stipe's fucking run has been a bit of a myth. Also, in regards to that card, fuck, there's so much to look forward to. Obviously, the Holloway and Ortega fight is crazy. There's no way I'm betting that fight, because I think Holloway's pretty heavy favorite, and I think he wins that fight. But why would you who would want to bet against Ortega? I think you're fucking crazy. Like, what he has shown thus far is that he can fucking win an upset. So yeah, super excited about that. And I just noticed the other day, I don't know if I'd noticed earlier, but one of my favorite fighters, Groovy Lando Venata, is fighting on that card as well. So excited to see him again. What did I do on the weekend? I watched that ACB card. I haven't watched ACB before, but yeah, there were some great fights on it. It was, but fuck, it was crazy. 15 fights, and they just trot them out one after the other. I know a lot of people complain that there's too big a gap between fights in the UFC, but fuck, it was hard to watch 15 fights that had just trotted out, bang, 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 bang. But some real good fights. Unfortunately, my brother's training partner, Callum Potter, got fucking heel hooked by Marcin Held, like nearly right off the bat. So, and that's what I was watching for. So I watched all these fights and then got to that, and then that was disappointing. Commiserations to those guys. I'm sure we'll see him back soon, and yeah, I just hope he gets that opportunity to show how fucking good he is, because he didn't get that opportunity on the weekend. So yeah, good watch though. I enjoyed the ACB. The Tuesday Night Contender Series I thought was really good. Some real talented guys on there that missed out on contracts. I think one of them, what was his name? Curtis. He looked real good in his fight, and then he retired because he didn't get the contract. So interesting there. Looking forward to next week's one. Oh yeah, Greg Hardy obviously getting the contract, dude with history of domestic violence. Pretty shitty, but not surprising. Everything comes down to money in the sport, and just traditionally in combat sports, problematic characters have always seemed to cross over and have a lot of interest in them. So it's sad that, but speaking of characters with interest in them, Derek Lewis said he'd like to welcome Greg Hardy to the UFC because he hates woman beaters. So fuck, shout out to Derek Lewis. You gotta love that dude. He's so good. I've been watching The Tough. Don't know how interested people are in the Tough show. I still watch it. Last week was bullshit, man. Stipe had his teammate, he called him back in because a few fighters dropped out. That guy Gunther, who's not very talented, and he got beat up for 3 rounds. And man, I think there were some guys who just, like, Gunther's tough as fuck and real hearty, but they could have chosen someone with more skill. So that was a bit sad to watch. And other tough news for the finale. So it was reported the other week that Brad Tavares has dropped out of the fight with Israel Adesanya, which is a bummer. But then in the same report, they said that Thiago Ferreira Santos could be a possible replacement, which is super exciting. But it still hasn't been confirmed yet, so I'm wondering what's going on there. I really like that fight for Adesanya. I think against Santos, I think Adesanya gets the job done. Fuck, it's hard to imagine them side by side. Like, I imagine there's a huge size difference there, but that usually seems the case for Adesanya at middleweight, and he's been fine. So, yeah, I really think he could clip Santos. He got hit by David Branch, who isn't half the striker Adesanya is. Tyron Woodley's been going off, so there's going to be some heat for this fight against Colby. Really looking forward to that. Woodley saying shit like that he's wants to kill him. So yeah, that's kind of funny and entertaining, and yeah, that fight's going to be nuts. The build up, especially. Trying to rush through this because I may run out of room on my phone. A couple of gripes. One thing is walkout music in MMA. Can people please fucking retire that Roy Jones Jr. song that I Can't Be Stopped one or whatever. Whitaker came out to it the other week, and then on the weekend watching fights I saw like 2 other dudes come out to it. That song is fucking awful and needs to be retired. Other no-nos and walkout music. Eminem, don't come out to an Eminem song. I want you to lose immediately if you do that. But yeah, I know it's fighters' jobs to fight, not have good taste in music, but fuck. I know, like, so many people use that Can't Be Stopped song, and like, fuck, wouldn't you want something that was like a bit more unique and original to you? I don't know. Other gripe is fighters saying it is what it is fucking killing me by this point. I feel like a fighter could come out and get noticed by making a stand against saying it is what it is. Something funny I saw yesterday was a predictions video by a guy called Mr. Arkansas. I don't know if people have seen him, but he did a round table for the Singapore card, and he imitated like 4 or 5 YouTube predictions guys like myself. I'm a bit bummed I wasn't on his radar, but he picked out these guys and then kind of like picked out what their nuances are or their annoying things they do, and really honed in on them and imitated their voices. I thought he did quite a good job, and I thought it was fucking funny. I think some people will be butthurt about it, but I'm kind of hoping one day I get on his radar and he makes fun of me, because he did a fucking good job of it. Quickly go to comments we had this week. Most of them relate to the last card. Couple good cards, so people are just celebrating that with me because they've done well also. Someone called SD has asked, tattoo artist or ex-con, I believe, asking about me. Don't usually talk too much about myself on here, but it's right at the end of the video, so I can do it. I wouldn't call myself ex-con, but I did go to jail a bunch of times in my late teens and early 20s. But yeah, have since reformed myself and live a good peaceful life, which is really nice for me. I'm quite proud of, actually. Never been a tattoo artist. I have worked in tattoo shops on the desk doing things of that nature, cleaning, but I can't draw for shit. So had I been able to draw, I imagine I would have ended up being a tattooer, but I can't fucking draw, so it would have been terrible. I did for a while start to begin looking at being doing lasering. And working out of a tattoo shop, lasering off tattoos, but didn't complete the process, as I do with many things that my heart isn't in 100%. So, thanks so much for watching. Please hit up my social media. My Twitter and my Instagram is louknuxdtd. My email, louknux@gmail.com. Please like and subscribe to videos. Going to be improving it all soon, so real excited about that. And heaps to talk about in the coming weeks. Like that 226 is so exciting. So please send me your thoughts or anything you'd like me to discuss on the podcast. Thank you very much. Good luck this week.